Hello and welcome back to Forgotten Dailies. So let's just assume that you're driving your car, your Shadow, Lebaron, Daytona, Omni, Rampage, any of the front wheel drive Chryslers from the 80s, 90s, New Yorker. These are all going to be very similar. And your wipers are running because it's raining, or you went to the car wash and then they stop. 9 times out of 10, what happened is the bushings that connect all of the stuff together have worn out and come apart. It's not a hard job to do. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. If you have any mechanical skills at all, you'll be able to do this by yourself. I'm going to attempt to go over step by step on what it takes to replace these bushings. And then I will show what tools are required. And then I will show you what bushings I'm talking about. And then I'll show you how to put it back together. Not just tear it apart, but put it back together. So, with that being said, I'm going to do 2 little variations here because L-body cars, Charger, Omni, Horizon, Rampage, are different in one step. And I'll go over that here in a little bit. And I will specify which is which. So today, for this video, we're going to use the GLHS Charger that we just brought in. And then I'm going to use my buddy's 88 LeBaron coupe that he has yet to pick up. It's just waiting on room and whatnot. So with that said, let's get started on what tools you're going to need to do the job. Alright, so I laid them out for you. Block of wood, and I'll show you why you're going to need that in a little while. Just a piece of junk 2x4, a flat blade screwdriver, 3/8 ratchet, a trim tool, a 10mm, a 13mm, and a 7/16. That is for all non-L body cars. If you have an L body, you're going to need the block of wood, the screwdriver, the ratchet, the trim, and the trim puller. You can probably get away without the trim puller. And you're going to need the 10mm, the 7/16, and then also I have a 15/16. It's a little loose. I don't have the actually, believe it or not, out of all the sockets I have, I don't have the exact size that it takes. I think it's a 25mm, but a 15/16 will work. We're going to start on the LeBaron first. So we're going to put this socket off to the side because we're not going to use it until later. Let me show you what we're going to do. Alright, so one of the steps, verify that it is actually the wiper transmission linkage, bushings, etc. that are bad. So turn the wipers on. And do you hear the motor trying, motor running? You'll hear it making noise. So if that's doing it and it's not working, then again, likely your problem is going to be these bushings. Or if you can grab the arm and just move it all the way like across the windshield by hand, either one, then your bushings have come apart. Your bushings on a non-L body car are under this plastic trim panel. And this is where you will use the trim pulling tool to remove these buttons. But you gotta get the wiper arms out of the way first. So, I did forget a pry bar. You need a pry bar too. So I apologize, I'll grab that real quick. One thing about me is I can admit my faults. I can admit when I'm wrong and I forgot this tool. So I apologize. So just a basic pry bar is all you're gonna need. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand, but I'll do the best I can. So if you look down here beside the wiper, you see this tab sticking out. What you're gonna do is you're gonna lift the wiper up off the windshield and slide that tab up. And that will lock the wiper arm in place. Let me do that. So you can use the flat blade screwdriver to move that tab. I always just use a pry bar because it works. And then what you're gonna do with the block of wood is just use it as leverage. You can come in from the side, but there you run into a chance of screwing up the paint or the metal in the fender. You don't want to do that. This side is harder than the other side. You just get this block of wood in here, whatever works. You have to mess around with it for a little while until you figure it out. And you just give it a little pop. And this one's probably going to fight me, so bear with me. The hood hinge is kind of in the way. Let's see what we can do here. I'm not an expert, but I've done a bunch of these. Of course, it's going to fight me, so bear with me. Alright, so that definitely took longer than it should have. I went and got a longer pry bar, so you're going to need a long pry bar. But anyways, I got it off there finally. You can see it's here. You're going to want to make sure you disconnect your washer fluid hoses from there. And then you're going to go to the other one and do it. So we got both of them out of the way. Okay, again, Same thing. You're going to want to remove your washer fluid hose. It should just pop off, and then just lay your wiper arms up off to the side. So now you take your trim removal tool and you pop out these little buttons. However it works for you. This one's not the best trim removal tool for this job, but we'll make it work. These have already been replaced. I think there's 5 of them across here. Careful when you don't catch the windshield. Now this one's gonna fight me, naturally. This is the way it goes, working on this old stuff. So, got that one. We'll come around here and get the other 2. That one came right out. Set it up here on the strut tower out of the way. And that one came right out. So, now this, theoretically, should be ready to come out of here. So, what you're going to want to do, this seal, you may have to move it out of the way because it kind of lays on top of that all the way across. So you lay that there. Just work it off. It's hard to do with one hand and one person. 2 people you can do it, but one-handed, one person is a little difficult. And this will take off the cowl shield. You're going to want to watch these wings on this side of these, because they will fall off. They're just little rivets holding them on. Matter of fact, the other side already fell off. So there's your trim panel. You remove that, set it off to the side. Now, to remove the wiper linkage, it's going to be this bolt and this bolt, but we're going to go to here first. And I did forget yet another tool. You need an 8mm for these 2 bolts that hold the cover on. If yours doesn't have a cover, that's fine. You won't have to worry about that. We do have them available in the store. But let me go grab an 8mm so I can get those 2 bolts off. All right, I cheated a little bit and got the cord. So those 2 screws, bolts, whatever, come out. Again, just set them off to the side so you don't lose them. And then this cover should come off of here, just like so. It's going to gain you access to your wiper motor, which is this. So, back to the whole thing. If this is working, but these arms are hard to see, but there's an arm that runs across to here that hooks to here, and there's another one that runs across to here and hooks to here. If there's bushings or bad, then that's why your arms aren't, or wipers aren't working, your arms aren't moving. So, we're going to unplug the wiper motor. Simple as that. And then there's 3 13mm bolts. One here, and one kind of hidden on the very bottom. You can get to those with just a regular 13mm deep well socket. And then that gets the motor loose from the car. You're also going to need to come in here, and this screen is going to have to come out of the way. So you have to be very gentle. These are very prone to break. And I don't think I've ever gotten one of these out successfully without it breaking. So this is a part that, even though it's hidden, could still be something that could potentially be reproduced. So, and this is just, the bottom part is just held on by a little clip with these little fingers right here. The top's held on by this push pin. Push a pin over in this end, and then 2 fingers. Again, lay this out of the way. You see that arm? This is the arm I'm talking about right here. This arm connects to the wiper motor on this end, and then it connects to the wiper pivot arm over on this end. We'll get to that in a second. Next step is back to this. Remove these 3 bolts or nuts so that we can get the wiper motor loose. So the bottom one's probably the trickiest one to get to. You can see I got my ratchet over here like this. Whatever works best for you. So we'll just take that nut, set it up here out of the way, and go to the last one. I already got this one loose. Okay, we'll run these nuts out of here, stick them off to the side. And while you're in here, this will be a good time to clean up stuff like this. If you got a car that sits outside or has been sitting outside for a while, please get down inside this well and just lay there, and you can see the water. That's where your drain is for any water that comes in and goes right down this hole. So what happens is, over time, leaves fall down this hole and get built up down inside the fender down in here on the bottom part of the fender, and then that's where your drain holes are for water like this to go out of. Just a word of the wise. So, the motor is now loose. Okay, you can see it's moving. Now we need to take these 2 bolts here and these 2 bolts here off the pivot arms. They should be a 10 millimeter. If I can find my 10, I put it over here. So, 10 millimeter fits. Let's change that out. So this is where you're going to want to start getting a little more cautious. And the reason I say that is because if everything is apart inside here and these arms fall out, you're going to want to try to make sure you get them back in the correct direction. And I'll show you that here in a second. Of course, this one's tight. The only one that's been tight. You can see the pivot arms just kind of fall down inside. Get this one out of the way. Alright, so now they just drop down in like so. So now you're going to pull this motor out, and it's all connected back inside there. It's hard to see. It's going to be hard to do this with one hand, but I'll make it work. You take it one direction or another, whatever works, until you get it out of this hole. You got to do one side and then the other side. It's just a tedious task. So whatever works, it'll go back together. It went in there once, so it'll go back in there again. Just got to keep working with it. Again, this is back to the one hand deal. But we got that side out. You see how it came out over here on this end? Now we can take this whole assembly. These are 2 hands. Whole assembly. Back this direction to the passenger side. And it all should come out of there. If I can get it out of here with one hand. Boy, I should be using the pedestal for this. Now I got it stuck. You can see my faults. Again, I'm not perfect. Now, it's all out. So, here's where you really want to be careful. Okay? Which side's which? Now, do we know? Luckily, they're marked. So it should be like this. We'll go over that here in a second. So if yours are apart anywhere, you got a bushing here, 2 bushings here, and then a bushing here. If any of these are apart, stop right there and take lots of pictures. And the reason you're going to want to do that is because these need to be facing the correct way, and they need to be put back together the correct way. And then this part down here, they need to be the correct way when they go back into here. So we'll go in, we're going to put this on the bench, and then I'll show you, actually I've got another one apart. I'll show you that one, and then we'll start replacing the bushings. But now we're going to go do this L body real quick. I'm going to show you how that one's done. Again, it's similar, except for one step. I'll show you that step now. I'd already removed this arm a little bit ago, because I needed to figure out what size socket this was. The same thing, it's got this tab, you just slide it over, pull the arm up, and then prop it off with a pry bar. And then this nut here is what you're going to want to take off. That's the one that's really big. So instead of having the two like a Daytona or Shadow or whatever has, it's got one big one. You just put this socket on and run this nut out, and this will drop down the same way. That's literally about the only difference. On an L body, you may have to remove the washer bottle and get it out of your way just for clearance, just to make it easier. That's only held in by a couple 8mm bolts as well. So let's go back to the task at hand. All right, so I had to clean up the bench a little bit to make room. So again, this is how this is, and I know on an Omni L body, these are marked left. These are marked left and right. So what I would do is take a paint pen and draw a line. This way you know which ones goes first. So the yellow line to yellow line matches this little arm, because you're going to end up taking this nut off, and this arm here's got to come apart in order to replace these 2 bushings. So And then I maybe would take the paint pen and mark it over here and mark it over here, so those two line up as well. So we just try to help you easier put it back together. But I thought that these were marked. I'm not seeing it, but I thought they was. Again, I'm not a perfect person, but I do try. So, all right. So, anyways, this is a 7/16 nut. You're gonna take this nut loose here, and then that separates this S-shaped bar out of the way. All right, so that's out of the way. This shaft is actually notched, so it's flat on one side and rounded on the other two. So if you look at this bar, it's kind of a square. So that will help you guide that back on there. So what else you're going to need are these. I mixed all mine together, so I know that that is one of the numbers. You can Google it. I get mine off Amazon. So you're going to need 3 of the capped ones, and then the other one's going to have a hole. That one with the hole is the one that's going to go into this arm. So we're going to take that apart, and I'll show you that. You're going to need a vise too. A vise will definitely make it a lot easier. Gives you more room, or more stability, I mean. So let me finish cleaning up this mess, and we'll get back to it. Alright, more tools to the list. A little hammer, some white lithium grease, and I'm guessing a flat blade screwdriver. Normally, honestly, when I take these apart, they're normally already broke. This one's fortunately for this guy, they already look nice. I probably shouldn't replace them. I should replace them on another one. But I told him I would replace them in order to do this video, so we'll just go ahead and do it and be done. So, whatever you got to do to get this apart, you're just trying to get this apart. Whatever works. Don't try not to bend this bar, because it needs to be straight. So let me see if I can get this apart here, and then I'll show you how to replace this one. Alright, so I just pried on it with a little bit with a screwdriver and wiggled it back and forth, and it came apart. So this is the side that goes up in the bushing. And then if we take on the back side, you'll see it's the cup. So this is the back of the new one. So you're going to make sure you know which way that this is facing as well. I know my camera's probably not focusing very well. It's probably having a fit. So you see this is the closed side and the open side's over here. So when you knock this out, you're going to make sure you put this back in the right way. Alright, so this is where it can get confusing. So once you pop this out, the old one, I finally got it out. I ended up just using the round part of a hammer inside the vise and knocked it out. So again, you're going to want to make sure that this goes back in the correct direction. I've read where people have taken and boiled these in hot water to soften them. I mean, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm not going to do that. I've had success doing it the way I'm about to do it. I've also destroyed a couple of these bushings. So, given, whatever works best for you, if you want to try putting it in hot water to soften it up, by all means, don't hesitate to do it. So, what I'm going to do is put this back on top of the vise, and I'm going to knock it from the back side into this slot. And once it's in the slot, then it should be locked in. It should go in there fairly flush. Alright, so it's out and back in. Again, this is where it's important to mark your dot, mark your line, so now you know which side the open end should be. So, we're going to take this part of the pivot arm and snap it into that hole. You see I got a little bit of grease in there. That's just going to help lubricate this and keep things moving freely. So let's go ahead and pop that in. We should be able to put this bar on the vise and pop this in with the hammer. And there it is. So now this side has got a new bushing here, and it's hooked back together. This one's the one that's tricky. Is this side right here, because it's got, like I said, the one with the hole. So we're going to take this one apart next, same way. I'm not going to show every step of it, but I'll show you what happens when you take this apart. All right, I got it apart. Now you see the hole? That one's got a hole all the way through it because it slides onto that shaft and it lays on the back side of here. So again, same step. Just going to knock this one out and put it back together the way it came out. So if you look, this tab is sticking up on the back side of this. You can see it right here. So we're going to make sure that this tab is facing the same direction just for safety's sake. Alright, so getting that back in is a little bit of a pain. But I got it. I ended up using a deep well extension that barely fit over this and was able to drive it in. So then I put this shaft back in, and we're going to take the next step and put this back together. And I was right. This is marked left and right, so at least the R is here for the right side. So, and I'm thinking that's the right side as you're facing it. But this is going to go back together here once I put a new bushing in here. For now, we're going to put this on hold because the wife said she's ready to go eat. So I'll be back in a little while. Alright, so back at it. So this is going to be just the same as the other side, where the pivot arm is. You're just going to knock it out, make sure you got it facing the same way, and then it's just going to snap back on this shaft here. And then you can go down here and you can do this in. So it's the same as the other pivot arm. Knock it out, knock the new one in, put a little bit of grease on it, and you're good to go. So with that said, the job isn't difficult. Just be patient, take your time, take plenty of pictures of how your layout is, you know, and just be patient with it. That's the biggest thing. Putting it back together in the car, same way as removing it. You'll slide the driver's side in behind first until you can get everything up inside, and then you'll sit the motor in, and these rods will go back through the hole, attach the bolts, attach the washer fluid hoses, remount the motor, plug it back in, put your trim back on, and you should be good to go. Before I put the trim on, I would test it just to make sure everything lines up fine, and you should be fine. With that said, hopefully that helps you along the way. This video didn't go as I planned in my head. It seems to be that happens, but hopefully this works or helps you, at least give you some good pointers and some direction and some confidence. Confidence is the biggest part of this, doing these cars. Just have the confidence that you can do it, and take your time, take pictures. Today's technology with phones, we have a smart TV in the garage just for YouTube videos, and sometimes we have to bring those up. But with our phones and everything, we should be able to find just about anything you need. If you can think of any other how-tos that you need, want me to try to do for you, let me know. I'll do my best to get it done. Apologize for jumping around a little bit, and still this whole video thing is still a little daunting on me. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.